right now and press rewind. Things replay in my mind about 1,000 times. Every red flag you show me is flying high. You got the wrong one. I'm so messed up in my head I can't be sure. You might say insecure, I say trust issues. Now I'm moving different, say I'm acting new. You got the wrong one. You got me, and I can't help but wonder where would I be if I treated you different from the start and held on to the mystery of my love. If ignorance is bliss, then I'm naive.
No sounds that you can't hear.
Just what to say to get to me. You've got the wrong one. I blind myself with passion cause I got faith. We blame it on perception just to be safe. But that's a misconception, you're taking advantage and you've got the wrong one. You got me, and I can't help but wonder where would I be if I treated you different from the start and held on to the mystery of my love. You got the wrong one.
This is another 419 Grind exclusive. Wake up, Toledo. Wake your ass up. You're listening to the 419 Grinds Rise and Grind Morning Show. Rep your city. Visit us online at the419grind.com.
Right here in the 419 Grind Studios. I'd like to say good morning, good morning, good morning. That's how, hey, it is Hump Day Wednesday, as Leah said.
Yes.
Hey, and it's your boy Big Trees and the beautiful, effervescent Miss Leah Renee. What's up, Leah?
Hey, Treese, what's going on,
Man,
my brother?
And it's that day. It's Wednesday.
It is. It's that day.
That you try to figure out which direction I'm going to go for the rest of the week.
Right, right.
So those that's grinding this morning, good morning to all our grinders. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, if you're following us on YouTube, Facebook Live, good morning, grinders. Whatever your challenges is, just know that you can get through it. We got to sometimes set the tone. I'm excited about the show this morning, Leah.
Yes.
And also, Leah.
What?
With it being October 14th, do you know Halloween is on the way?
Yes, there's too many things on the way. I'm just like, my kids every other day, it's like, Mom, we need this. Mom, we need that. Mom, you know we need this. You know, I'm like, yes, I know.
So are you doing costumes this year?
You know, I don't know. My daughter's Bria's 14, so she probably, I don't know if she's gonna do a costume or not. Brandon will probably want to because he's 8. He's that age. It's Braxton's first Halloween, so people are telling me I should dress her up, but it's like, you know, babies, they don't know, they don't get it, but
Absolutely.
I should probably dress her up just to at least take pictures.
So is your home one of the candy homes? Do you got candy where you have the light on, or you gonna cut your light off? Talking about don't come over here for no candy.
Well, normally I'm out with my kids trick or treating, so I haven't never really given away candy. But this year, I think I am gonna stay at home and probably dress up the baby and sit in the house, you know, like by the door with the baby and give out candy.
Don't come to my house. All new Rise and Grind Morning Show. I ain't got no candy for you. And if I do, I'm going to bring you some of them. Remember them little pieces of candy, Leah, the little carrots, the little nasty
Oh,
peanuts?
I hate those. Those are called something corn.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I didn't like those.
And everybody, if you come to my
Candy
house.
corn. Isn't that what it's called? Candy corn, I think?
I don't know. I know they look like little carrots, and didn't nobody like them.
Yeah, I know.
So if you come to my house, I'm giving you them. So
Or the Twizzlers and stuff.
or the licorice. Did you like black licorice?
Oh, I hate it.
Again, I want to say good morning to those that's on the road, wherever you might be. Please be safe. But you know what, Leah? When I came in, it was a little brisk this morning. Today, it really looks like a autumn day, like the leaves falling, they orange. It looks like a picture.
Absolutely.
And those that's in photography like yourself,
Yeah.
today is a great moment just to capture what the day looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be doing the senior pictures for our girl Andrea, my girl Drea, who's always listening in. Her daughter, my niece Jaden, she's a senior this year, so she wants me to do her senior pictures, and she wants to do them like throughout the year. So we'll do some, you know, right now while the leaves are changing, then do some more in winter, and then some more in spring. So it's gonna be
dope, and those and I'm sure they're gonna come out beautiful too. So with that being said, that walks us right into what is the weather looking like, Leah Renee?
Yeah, like you said, it's a beautiful fall morning. It's currently 41 degrees. There's some sun out there, so it's not necessarily, you know, cloudy and dreary looking, but it is a beautiful October morning. The high will get up to 70 today. We're going to see some sun, so it's going to be looking good today, but going into the weekend, we're going to drop down into the 50s, and it's going to be, you know, kind of like in the high 50s through the weekend. So it's going to be a chilly weekend. You know, I think we're done with those 70 degree, 80 degree weekends. It's about over with. So, yeah, but it's still going to be nice. No rain. So it's going to be sun and some clouds. So definitely still get out there and enjoy the weekend. Maybe hit up one of those what are the pumpkin patches or something like that?
I was about to ask, this is a good time for those different orchards and
Yes.
pumpkin patches?
Yeah, I need to take my kids. I haven't taken my kids yet this year.
Did you go to those when you were young?
Yes, my mom used to take me, and then I remember going on like field trips, in the schools. They always took you every year.
I'm in the
What happened to
hood.
field trips?
COVID.
Right, yeah, you're right. That's crazy.
I'm in the hood, so we didn't do the field trips. We went to the community center that made it like an orchard. So
No, y'all didn't go on field trips? Really?
Nah.
Wow, that's so sad.
I know. I was deprived. Even our intern is saying something. So with that said, what's the traffic like? If we get a chance to get out and about, what's some of the traffic?
There is a road closure on 75 South. I don't know exactly where. My beautiful intern didn't tell me where, but it is on 75 South. It is on 75 South. So if you are on the expressway or on the state routes, make sure you're just taking your time, being safe. There's construction everywhere, all over still on 75 and 280. So just give yourself time, know your routes in the morning where you're going. Try to plan it out. You know what I mean? Because so many people, you're BSing all through the morning, and then you give yourself 5 minutes to get to work, and then you're speeding going 90,
Absolutely.
trying to get to work. No, give yourself enough time so you can safely get to where you're going.
And I'm glad you said that, Leah, because we take for granted being able to jump in our cars, listen to iHeart, to the #1 urban podcast show in the country, and then all of a sudden you get a flat tire or
Right.
something. You see an accident. Be careful.
Yes.
And the main thing, Leah, is not necessarily those that's driving, but those that's watching the other drivers.
Yeah.
Please arrive safely.
Yeah, that's the most important part, because you may be the safest driver out there, but that doesn't mean that everybody around you is.
Absolutely. And again, we want to thank our sponsors, Lyman Humidop, Treatment and Recovery Services. If you're thinking about some lunch today, just think about Hot Box. Hot Box. Hot Box?
Hot box.
Hot Box.
And I had hot box yesterday, and it was wonderful.
Oh, big ups to Hot Box Downtown. Or for delivery, call 419-690-4990. Hot Box. And Greater New Psalmist with Dr. Breon Hall. Thank you again for your ministries. And Miss Perfect, I'm going to do it like Leah saying, Miss Perfect by T.
Yes, shop for all your diva needs at missperfect.org, and you can find the CEO and owner at Tiaja Good on Facebook. Yeah,
Also,
shout out
just
to all
like
our
to take
sponsors, man.
Man,
That's dope.
we are getting a lot of support,
Yeah,
and we
are.
do this for you. Excuse me. When we talk about one of the most interactive and engaging podcasts in the country, live, nobody else is doing it, but we're doing it because we got people like Jesse Coleman, Dr. Victor Coleman, Leah Renee, myself, our executive interns. Much love to our executive interns, Ms. JB, Dewan, Trey Daniels, Murky Murk. We
Yes.
got a hell of a intern team, Leah, and
Yeah, we do. We got a hell of a team, just period, because everybody that has, come on to the 419 Grind and has their own podcast. I mean, we have a whole big family now, so it's pretty dope.
and it's a network. So
Yeah.
when you talk about creating history, Leah, what the 419 Grind has done is, especially in the urban community, housed in the 419, the Glass City to the world, has created a network of shows
Yeah.
through podcasts. If
Yeah.
you just think about that for a moment,
It's dope.
that is huge.
It's huge.
And then we got our viewers and our listeners that's weighing in,
Yes,
that's growing with us.
we see y'all.
Who's some people this morning, Leah, that we just want to
Man.
throw some love to?
We always want to show love to our viewers and our listeners, so sending love out to Shmira. I hope I pronounced your name right. Shamira, maybe? Terrence. Trey is on the live. Who else we got on here? Delisa, TJ Johnson, Julian Mack, Breezy, Tony Bell, Jasmine. Is that Jasmine or Jammin? Jammin.
Oh yeah, DJ Dow Jones, and Leah, you were right. They said that it was called candy corn.
Yep,
I
yep,
saw
yep.
Delisa with Frogtown said that it was called candy corn, and so you're right. That piece of candy, if you come to my house for Halloween, I'm giving you that
giving
damn
away
candy
candy
corn.
corn.
Expect the unexpected. I got that candy corn for you.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Gutta Dave, man. Shout out to all of y'all, for doing that event this past weekend. It was really dope. So thank you for tuning in again. And shout out to Coop on the live. Jesse, what's up? Morning to all our grinders. We love all of y'all. We appreciate all of y'all. She's
right in the studio. Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected.
This thing is, we just right now working out with
Okay, diva.
We gotta call her Alga Ostina.
Right.
It's made it in the studio.
Man, no, you need to call her Elga Ostina, man.
That's Alga. You know, one of them older lady names. I'm just playing. Look how she looking. Hey, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to bring back DJ Breezy. Alga on the Stinger. Steen is here, y'all. We about to work this out with her beautiful self. Don't go nowhere. It's all new Rise and Grind morning.
Is just around the corner, and once again, Ohioans have 3 good choices for how to vote. Polls will be open on November 3rd, and early in-person voting is available through November 2nd. You can also request and cast an absentee ballot from the convenience of your own home. No matter which method you choose, you can be confident that your vote is secure and your voice will be heard. Let's vote, Ohio. Go to voteohio.gov for voting locations and hours. Sponsored by Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, aired by the OAB and this station.
Sandy Brown, owner of the Toledo Threat Basketball Organization. And I have some great news. The Toledo Threat are officially joining the 419 Grind podcast with our new show, Nothing But Net. On the show, you'll see athletes, coaches, and even community leaders who have nothing but net careers. Now, they may have hit a few bricks along the way, but with hard work and dedication, they're now seeing a consistent shot within their careers. You can catch us right here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock starting September 30th on the 419 Grind podcast. Until then, nothing but net.
What's going on, everybody? This is Lance Self is who I am.
And I am Arlinda Self.
And we are the Selfs, and here to present our show called Self-Explanatory.
Yes, it's our podcast presented by 419 Grind.
That name just has a ring to it. Self-Explanatory. I feel like we're about to be explaining a bunch of shit. This is true. I feel that's what it's about to be.
Well, I think we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about marriage, of course.
Okay.
We've been married, 2 years now, right?
2 years, but been together for 8.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. It's a long time.
Y'all gonna ask what took so long?
What did take? You know what? We'll get there.
Self-explanatory.
We're going to talk about blended families.
Yeah.
Praying for your spouse. Gender roles. Living with family members.
Woo.
Cheating.
Uh-huh.
Raising kids.
Mm-hmm.
Family upbringing. Being there for your spouse. Finances. Being a wife and a husband, trying to be together and be individuals at the same time, which is one of the things.
It took a while.
It's taken a while, but
it has
it's the
taken
fun
a while.
part. We're learning that.
That's what marriage is.
It's a process.
It's a life journey.
I like
it's not
that.
an overnight thing. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of days where I'm trying to be individual. I get on your nerves because of my individual ways. I can tell you one thing for damn sure though. Definitely get on my nerves. It be a lot. She definitely gets on my nerves, but I love her.
I get on your nerves?
Yes, it's possible. You do a lot. What's wrong? What's the problem? What's wrong? Hey. I am Lance Self.
And I am Arlinda Self.
And this is the Self-Explanatory Podcast, presented by 419 Grind.
Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are heard.
I dreamed about you both day and night. Can't stop thinking about what we can have. I make mistakes, boy, but that's the past. Now I need something that's gonna last. Something that's better than sex. It's better than cashing the check. I wanna get lost in your love. I hope that you're giving it back. Don't you have me out here looking stupid. stupid, cause I put my trust in Cupid. Fairy tales really don't exist anymore, but I got a fantasy for it. They say I lost my mind, but I can fantasize, can I? Fairy tales really don't exist anymore, but somehow I still believe in it. You said it's a waste of time, but I can fantasize, can I? I just want my night and it's shining on me. I'm your Cinderella, but time is not a problem, and I could be a queen. Just don't bring me no drama. Need you to be a king to take home to my mama. I know you see it in my eyes, baby. I promise that I'll never lie, baby. So I hope you ain't surprised, baby, by the way I fantasize. Fairy tales really don't exist anymore, but I got a fantasy for it. They say I lost my mind, but I can fantasize, can I? Fairy tales really don't exist anymore, but somehow I still believe in it. You said it's a waste of time, but I can fantasize, can I? Fairy tales really don't exist. But I can fantasize. Fairy tales really don't exist, but somehow I still believe in it. But I can fantasize.
It gets a little hard sometimes, but that's just how love goes. Every day it gets a little stronger. It builds and it grows. Even through the ups and downs, we just grab a hold, don't let go of the love. Long as we focus on each other, everything will be just fine. Every relationship has its good and bad times. That doesn't mean that it's all just a waste of time. There's a lesson to be learned in this game called life. You gotta know if you wanna grow. Relationships get hard sometimes, but that's just how love goes. Every day gets a little stronger. Even through the ups and downs, we just grab a hold, don't let go. Don't let go. Long as we focus on each other, everything will be just fine. I lonely that you learn when you needed them the most. And you hanging by a thread with no trail of hope. They came back, other lives, some circles, some fix was broke. You can fix what's broke. It gets so hard sometimes. That's just how life is. Every day it gets a little stronger. Even through the ups and downs, we just grab a hold and let go. Don't let go. Long as we focus on each other, everything will be just fine. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Art Bishop. We've been
That's right. It's the all-new Rise and Grind morning show right here in the 419 Grind Studios. Oh, my goodness. This Wednesday, y'all got a treat this morning. Those that's listening on iHeartRadio and also those that's weighing in on YouTube and Facebook. Right now, it is Work It Out Wednesday with the lovely, and y'all see who's sitting next to me, DJ Breezy, a.k.a.
Good morning.
Toledo's Taraji.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Brought me all kind of Taraji vibes.
Oh my goodness.
I'm loving
Why are
it.
y'all so silly this morning?
Man, look at you. You look beautiful.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Y'all got me glowing.
Looking like a little star.
Oh, okay.
I love the Unity hat.
I love it. And shout out to Tame
man.
Beauty Store.
dope.
That's where I got this from.
Yeah, that's right there by Rocket Nutrition,
Right,
right? Yeah.
right next door to Rocket
Awesome.
Nutrition. This is by far my favorite hat, so I'm trying to see if she'll get some
It
more
has a
colors
whole
in.
Alstina.
Alga, who is Alga?
That's like the older person, like his grandmother. And he got, August Alstina
So
got the name
basically, you
from.
said she looked like his grandma.
Yeah.
No, she got the name from his grandmother.
I'm not dealing with trees this morning.
So
what I gotta
we
deal
gonna
with
work
every
this thing
morning?
out. We trying to work it out. And guess what? For those that's weighing in, we have a special guest. Retain, please, our here common police court in the 419 Lucas County, Mr. Alfonso Jess Gonzalez.
Thank you. That's an introduction.
That's the best introduction. It makes me feel like I'm really somebody
I
in
feel
the
like
morning.
older and running into the court, so thank you.
So Judge, I have to say right off the script, we're here. We got two of the biggest, brightest personalities with the lovely Leah Renee and DJ Breezy, who does
it.
when you having your next event and you need a DJ.
Yes.
I know where to go.
You know where to go.
Host, you got two lovely ladies.
Yes.
Absolutely.
How you feeling this morning, Judge?
I'm feeling well. I'm
feeling well?
It was a crisp morning, waking up.
Yeah.
Feels like fall. It's going
Yes.
to be a beautiful day today. I do have a docket this afternoon, so I'm kind of like with a couple hearings, so
Okay.
kind of had that rolling in my head, but I'm here.
And
here.
you
Yes.
I'm with you guys.
in
That's great.
person.
And we appreciate
We
it.
surely do.
Absolutely.
And before we get into the docket and all that stuff,
Sure.
just thank you. And for those that don't know, Judge, what was the vibe when you walked into the 419 all new Rise and Grind morning show? What was the vibe when you came in the studio?
Excited. I mean, I heard you guys through the door. Before I knocked, I was like, oh, wow. I go, it's alive in there. The rest of the building's like quiet. And then I got closer to the room. I was like, I can hear the show going on.
You know which room they're in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I wasn't awake, I'm awake now.
Okay.
That's like our guest the other day said they followed his voice. Like they didn't know where to go exactly, but they heard his voice.
That's right.
Well, again, we thank you so much for joining us this morning, just to
Absolutely.
talk about your journey and some of the things that we have going on around Lucas County in the 419.
Sure.
But, ladies, what I understand is, can we call you Judge Jess?
You can call me Judge Jess.
I like
Judge Jess had an event last night at San Marcos. We got a real judge.
What, Judge Justin? I didn't get invited?
No, it was open.
He said no.
Yeah, right. He shut that down quick.
Shut me down real quick.
Like, don't try it.
So how was it last night, and where was it?
It was at San Marcos on Reynolds. It's the old Dolly and Joe's. If you guys know where that's at, it's right across from Biblos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the closest one to my home. It's one of my favorite restaurants in town. I'm used to going to the downtown, the original one.
Yeah,
that's on
'cause
the
that was
foot
the
of
only one they had for a
That's
while.
correct. I mean, it actually opened up or started as like a little taco shop and a bakery. And then the tacos sold so well, and he would just sell them at the counter, that it expanded into a restaurant.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that whole story.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now they have, I believe, 4 around town.
Wow.
So,
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, growing up in a Latino family and knowing I know how to cook, and I know,
Okay, then.
one of the first
Sí,
things I did
papi.
is, there you go. There you go. I learned all of my grandmother's and my mother's recipes. I'm very
Yes.
picky.
Okay.
And San Marcos is probably my top 2 here in town.
What was the place next to it? Because I could never pronounce that on Reynolds.
Which one?
the restaurant that it used to be, or you said it's Biblos?
Dolly and Joe's. And across the street's Biblos.
That's how you say that word?
Biblos, correct.
Easy. I didn't know how to never.
I never knew that either.
You know when you ride
Which
by-
is phenomenal food also in and of its own right. And I'm going to give a
What
little
kind
plug.
of food is that?
That's Mediterranean.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And Judge Nicole Corey from Municipal Court, her family owns it. They also
Wow.
own the Beirut. So,
Beirut.
so I'm
I like
That was
Beirut.
on Monroe
So,
Street.
yeah, their sister restaurant. So I'm giving Judge Corey, if she's listening,
She
hi
is.
Nicole, and I'm giving you a plug too.
I love it. So is Beirut still open on
It's
Monroe?
oh yeah,
It is.
absolutely.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, because I grew up on Algonquin, literally right down the
Correct.
street. And that restaurant used to do numbers.
Yes.
Yes,
It
yes.
still does.
It's okay.
assuming.
I mean, they've kind of like, with COVID, everybody's kind of
Right.
reduced the
Right,
seating.
right.
So, but I went in there for lunch just this week, and it was semi-busy for lunch. So
I'm gonna have to
That's
try
good.
Biblo's out. I've never
Biblo's
had it. Yeah, I'm
fantastic.
gonna have to try that out.
Love
Yeah,
it,
we're gonna
love
have
it.
I'm just glad y'all said the name correctly, because I ride down there, Judge, and I be.
Right, right.
Trees.
Hey, it's on. Hey, we trying to work it out. You be trying to work.
Well,
out
at least
those-
we worked that out this morning. You know
Okay,
how to
so
pronounce
now I know how to
that.
say it.
You learn one thing every day. They say.
Right.
So, was there a nice turnout last
It
night?
was a
for
great
the event?
turnout. I was very excited about it. Got to meet some folks. Had some nice discussion about the campaign. A lot of discussion about the political environment right now.
What was the actual event?
It was a fundraiser for me.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it was kind of
Fundraiser. Here we go. Fundraiser. Lucas.
Absolutely. Well, I'm in a campaign, so it was a fundraiser. Probably my last one because we're 3 weeks away from the election. So, but initially it was the brainstorm of my coordinator thinking in the midst of the COVID
Right.
pandemic that it would be like a drive up, because if you recall early in the COVID pandemic,
Yeah.
people were not
Having the
going.
drive-ups.
They were driving up, driving away with their food, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of opened up a little bit, and the folks just came in and sat down.
Oh,
So,
cool.
So,
yeah.
you know what, Bree and Leah, when we hear that a judge making Taco Tuesday,
And I love
a way
it.
a part of, just letting you know that here is a everyday person who sits in the seat of power,
Right.
and still connects with the community. Bree, that's dope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see this more. I don't know if me personally, I know around election time and campaign time, you do see more action and involvement.
Absolutely.
So I just think this is a good time to push, like for those who are in the seats that you have, to continue this.
Absolutely.
Like even after, the campaign is over, because
Absolutely.
as you can see and as you can tell, like the support is there and the interactions are needed and they're appreciated too. So
Well, we talked about this Saturday at the Heel event, I was there, and
Word. In the
and again,
hood at City Park,
Yes,
aka Savage Park,
absolutely.
Yes.
the judge was rocking with us.
Yes, absolutely. So when I first was appointed, the thought process for me was what responsibility does a judge have in the community beyond
Right.
the
Oh,
job?
wow.
And certainly during the campaign season, it could be interpreted as campaign related, and
Right.
and to a certain degree, it is.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
We're
'cause
gonna
you
keep
need
it all the way
exposure.
real
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely. So you need exposure. However, this is something I was thinking about just in general. What does a judge do beyond the role of a judge inside the courtroom?
Right.
And we always talk about diversity. I'm bringing that to the table. What's the point of diversity except for life experience? We have a perspective. We can provide that perspective to the job, and even more so in the community. So one of the first things I decided to do, and I did get into the TPS school system. I spoke to 5 junior highs prior to COVID.
Name
It took
one.
a while.
Name one.
Glendale Fieldbach was the
Okay.
very first one.
Hey, I went to Glendale Fieldbach.
There you go. That was the very first one.
Because sometimes we have to make it practical and let you know
Absolutely.
some of those steps. So thank you.
Well, so I wanted to do more, but COVID hit. So,
Right.
and we were actually Lutheran Social Services reached out to me when they heard what I was doing, and they provide services to Toledo Scott. I didn't get into Toledo Scott, but we talked about piggybacking. So they provide mental health services, substance abuse services, and I would come in and serve in a mentoring role. We talked about 7th, 8th grade. Let's catch them young. It may not be young enough based on my communications with the kids. I mean, they're
Right.
a little bit too knowledgeable about what's going on the street at that age.
He's being nice when he say that.
Absolutely. I'm just being well, it's true though. I mean,
It
and that's
is.
the reality of the situation in Toledo right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big gang problem. We've had a lot of gun violence, which is why that event Saturday was very important. I was hoping we would have had some of the folks that are participating in this stuff
To
show
show
up.
up.
But you know what? There's time for that.
Yeah.
There's time for that.
Yeah.
With your efforts, with my efforts, I think it matters. And I think this is part of what I was talking about with the community. One thing I've noticed, I was an attorney for 21 plus years, magistrate before this, and that carries some weight with folks. But when they hear a judge is out there getting their hands dirty, it encourages people to volunteer. And I think it's the power of the position. It's just the influence it has on others to say, you know what, if he's doing it, maybe I should too.
Yeah.
And that's
the point.
And that's huge. And that's why I'm glad that you joined us this morning. Because now we, Leah Renee, our interns, DJ Breezy, we can say we know the judge and we have a relationship.
Absolutely.
You kind of touched on some things. So before we go into that, tell us a little bit about who Judge Alfonso Gonzalez is. Like, where you from? What school you? Give us the family background. We want to know the family person first.
I grew up in Findlay, Ohio, the oldest of 5. My dad was a millwright, Cooper Tire Rubber, in Findlay, Ohio. My mom stayed home because of 5 kids. You know, I would describe our home as very blue collar, probably lower middle class. At least I interpret it that way because, you know, that's all you know. We didn't have a lot of luxuries. I mean, I had to work to put myself through school. But no complaints, you know. And it taught me work ethic at a very young age. My dad was very big on that. It's like, you have to earn your keep.
Yeah.
Don't expect someone to give it to you. He didn't give it to me. He says, you got to.
Right.
I remember when
right.
arcades started popping up in the malls. We had this tiny little mall in Findlay, and there was an arcade right in the middle of it. And of course, you know, Space Invaders and all these games are out there. I asked my dad for a quarter. I think I was probably 8 or 9, and he said, get a job.
A quarter? Yeah,
Dang.
So that was my dad. Rough at a young age.
Tough nut.
So guess what? I got the biggest paper out in town.
Yeah.
And by the time I graduated from high school, I had 2 years of college paid off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd you attend college, Judge?
Bowling Green State University. So
Falcons?
Yeah, I have an undergraduate degree there, criminal justice, a master's in public administration, and then I have my law degree from UT. I worked for a couple years between the master's and law school, but you know, when BG plays Toledo, I'm kind of partial to BG. I hate to tell my Toledo
Well,
fans.
you're sitting next to a UT
Yes.
alumni, so
Sure. I support the Rockets as long as they're not playing my Falcons. And I'm a Buckeye at heart, so if either one of them are playing the Buckeyes, I still go Huskies.
absolutely. Family, you have kids?
I have one child. She's 15, going on 16. She'll be driving here in about a month, so she's very excited. So, yeah.
I have a 14-year-old about to be 15, and that's
oh my God! At that age,
That's
they're
a testy
15,
age.
going on 25.
Yeah,
I mean, they're very knowledgeable. I mean, think about it. What it was like when we were kids at that age. If you wanted to see your friends, you actually had to see your friends.
Yes.
There was a telephone that was connected to a wall.
and sometimes you couldn't even use that.
That's right, because it was one line and everybody fought over it.
Yes.
Now they can social media themselves. I mean, getting her out of her room is a chore.
Oh, yeah,
because
it
they're
is.
they're talking to the world all at once, and they can see each other.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So she's a doll. She's my sweetheart.
I hear you as now you're a girl dad, as they say.
Yes.
That's the
She
new
has
term.
me wrapped around her finger. Yeah.
Yes.
So what have you learned about yourself being a dad with a teenage daughter? What has it taught you?
Well, I mean, certainly patience is something that you definitely need.
Yes.
You know, and
Oh,
I'm
God.
one short on it, but
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
certainly the job I'm in, the job I've done, it teaches you patience, and you have to have patience, and so it certainly has helped with raising a 15-year-old daughter in this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I will tell you, in a very short period of time, over the last 5-6 years, we've seen some very nasty things happen to adult females here in our community. I mean, and 2 laws that impact me on a daily basis are based on those individuals that were from this community. You had Sierra Joplin out in the Fulton County that was murdered when she was riding a bike.
I remember that. That was
and
so
Reagan
sad.
Tokes, who was from the Anthony Wayne area, who was down at Ohio State, that was also, and those impact my job every day. Laws were changed because of those 2 cases. But I tell my daughter all the time, look, you know what, when I want to know where you're at all times, why I know where you're at because of the phone and the connection that allows you to see where your daughter's at, it's for a reason. I mean, even at this age, I worry about her when she walks out the door.
Oh, God. Every time.
Those were adult women.
Absolutely, Leah. And you have a teenage daughter around the same age. When you hear the judge mention some of the things that he, as the seat of power, and then him being a public figure about his daughter and his family, and the challenges that he has in raising a teenage daughter.
Yeah.
What's some of your thoughts with that?
Well, you know, it's very relatable because obviously, I mean, you got me with the first thing he said about being raised by a Mexican mother and grandmother. I'm also half Mexican, so my mother is full Mexican and my grandmother is Mexican, and I was raised on all the Mexican food too. So when you were talking about that, you know, that resonated with me. But then, of course, yes, with a daughter, I mean, you know, I'm a single mother, and so it's trying, you know, and you have to, at the end of the day, you know, when you come home, you're just mom to them. You're not Judge, you know, your mom or dad. You're not Judge Alfonso Gonzalez. You know, you're not Leah Renee. You're just mom or dad, you know, and so it can be testy. It can be testy.
No, for sure.
But it definitely, it's like you're very relatable. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, as it relates to my daughter and what we were talking about, you cannot be too safe with your kids at this day and age.
You cannot.
I mean, no matter where you live.
Yeah, I have an app on my phone that tracks my daughter. So every single time she leaves the house, I know exactly where she's going. I know how fast the car is going. Yes. Yeah, all of that.
This is micro parenting because I am too with that with my son. So just to kind of take the edge off, what's some of the things, or what's one of the biggest things that you enjoy? I was about to say Dr. Jess, Judge Jess, that you enjoy doing with your daughter. And this is a little privy information that we get to share with us. But what's one of the things?
Entertainment. I'm big on entertainment. I love sports. She loves sports.
That's
you know,
good.
we love football. Watching football.
Did she play sports? Does she play sports in
soccer.
school?
Yeah,
oh, okay,
she just
cool.
finished her season a couple nights ago. So
are you a coach too?
No,
are you soccer coach?
No. I tried that. I tried that once.
He's like, I ain't doing that no more.
I tried that once, and they were very little, and it was hard keeping their attention on the ball. I said, I can't do this.
Right.
So anyway, I think I'll be a spectator. You know. Anyway, no, watching sports. We also love TV dramas. I mean, she's big on she's Netflix. She likes to watch the dramas. Surprisingly, she likes watching documentaries.
Wow.
So those are interesting too. And she's at that age now where I think she's starting to open up to stuff that even at that age I probably wasn't interested in, like history. And things like that. So I'm kind of pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's turning to be a smart little girl, academic, and her interests amaze me. They're much more broad than what I had at that age. I was probably all sports at that point.
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about politics and reading the papers and stuff, but I mean, it was mainly sports.
Is your daughter that way? Does she like get into?
She does, because you know what? Sadly,
that's amazing.
This contentiousness that exists in our country now has permeated the schools too. The kids argue with each other about the same types of things, and she comes home frustrated sometimes talking about that stuff. I'm like, honey. So, you know, it's funny we mentioned that because last night there was actually an interesting conversation at San Marcos. A lady was sitting there, and a number of political signs were defaced over the last couple nights in town. And they were talking about
Wait, what happened?
Some political signs
were defaced. I mean, some of my signs have been destroyed. I mean, but that kind of people are like that on the street. So, and it stirred a conversation between a couple folks that were there that were of opposite political minds.
Right.
And it started getting a little contentious.
With the judge in the building?
With the judge in the building. And, you know, I interjected and said, hey, look, you know what? What's nice about this is that you guys can have this conversation, but we got to keep it civil.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss the days when people could have opposite, polarizing, I guess, viewpoints and not get into arguments and fights. And we need to get back to that. We really, truly do. And I think people can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
It's a difficult concept today's day and age because, I mean, people go for the jugular with every little argument, but we can do that, and we need to get back to that.
We've gotten to such a selfish place, I think, you know, just as a human race, you know, everybody is kind of, you know, what I need to do, what I need to focus on, you know, and then it creates these, you know, these confrontations and these things with just something little, you know.
Absolutely. People tend to be self-absorbed.
Yes, that's the word. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
It's hard to look outside of your little box sometimes.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, while we're still talking about your parenting, how is it with discipline with your daughter?
Well, you know, I was.
Do you whoop your daughter?
No.
Did you ever?
Once, very little.
But dads, I think it's a dad thing.
Yeah,
dads don't have to do that.
Well,
they don't.
Yeah, no, it was just once, and I'm
Still
fortunate.
Hurt you today.
It did. It did. I remember my parents.
Look like you could hear the.
You can hear it like,
Hey, I got whooped a lot when I was a kid, but I deserved it. I mean, I look back on it and said, I had that coming.
Okay.
So, and I remember my parents saying it hurts me more than I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you understand now.
Yeah, but I totally understand it. And fortunately for me, my daughter's just an angel. And, in my eyes, I mean, she demonstrates the teen angst other kids do, but it's not at a level that drives me insane.
Right. For
Right.
the most part, she's a good kid.
She's a great kid and very structured, very organized, very responsible. So it did hurt when I did it that one time, but I've never had to do it again.
I know. I'm pretty
What
sure
about
you
so
have.
do you leave it to the mom? Are you making the mom be the bad guy?
No. I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, you have to be able to do it together. I think
Yeah.
when it's unilateral, when it's one parent doing it all the time, that's when you have problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Because kids will play favorites.
yeah,
They
yeah,
do.
yeah, they do.
And
They try to play both sides.
Well, that's it. And then they get old enough and wise enough, they know how to play,
Right.
play off each
Right.
other.
So speaking of your wife, what does she do for a living?
She works at Highland Brokerage. She's a VP and a privacy officer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So does your daughter try to? Who does she lean more? Just by the vibe that we get, I would say she leans a lot to dad.
Yeah,
Well, I
daddy's
know.
girl.
I think she does both. I mean, probably a little more to her mom, only because they're very alike in a lot of ways. But then she's me in a lot of ways. So, but I still think she gravitates towards her mom for the
girly stuff.
The girly stuff. Yeah, I was trying to find the right word last time.
The feminine stuff.
Yeah, but what I love about her is that I instilled strength in my child. That
Yes.
I don't have to worry about her as much as others. I've
Yeah.
trained her. Don't be a follower, be a leader.
That's right.
Yes.
You know what? You need to.
Got a lot of love with that response once you said that. Our viewers
Yes,
listening,
it's so right
hit the
though.
love
I
button
tell my
just when
daughter
you said
that on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Do not be a follower. That's the worst thing you can
No,
do in life.
you
If
know-
you have to stand alone,
Yes.
you stand alone, but you stand for what's right.
Well, wait a minute, Judge. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. Because in order to lead, you have to know how to follow.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well, I guess the key word is to know who to follow.
Right. Exactly.
That's
Who
right.
you
That's the important
are,
part.
making an influence in your life.
Okay.
Because, with teenagers nowadays, it's all over the place. And I know
Yeah.
it's harder. Like, I have 7-year-old twin girls. So I have a while to get to where you two are now. But it's just, you see, even at 7, the type of things, you
Yeah.
have to watch who, what they're talking about
Absolutely.
and who they're associated with.
yeah.
So you're right, Treese. Yes, knowing how to follow is a part of becoming a leader.
Sure.
But I guess we should start making it make sure the person you are following and looking up to has your best interest
Yeah.
at heart.
Absolutely.
Great
Because
point. Absolutely.
I guess that's something as parents we should, it's a learning lesson. 2020, we're learning a lot of
Oh
new
man.
stuff.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
And we have used that term and we hear that term all the time. And I was one of those kids, even like going to church and stuff. I want to know that I need all the details and answers. So how are you telling
That's how
me, such and such?
Who is you?
So and I can get it now,
Right.
So we're telling our kids, don't be a follower, but you have to listen. It kind of contradicts
Right.
yourself.
Yeah, it's true. It's
So I'm glad we had this conversation because now I'm gonna rephrase
yeah,
it
we
with
have
my
to
kids.
modify it, right?
Yes. So follow the, we got to change it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
Well, if you
Judge,
think
you
about
said
it,
that.
kids in the beginning are following your lead.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, sometimes they rebel against that because they don't have the experience to understand what that instruction means.
yeah, and
or
why
how
you're
it's
telling them
utilized.
that.
Right. Until they experience a situation.
Right.
Then they go back and like, oh, now I
Yes.
get it.
Yeah.
The light clicks on.
Yes.
Right.
And you made a very valid point, Judge. You said learn one thing, and I think we all just in conversation. That's why, Judge, we never look at this as an interview. This is a conversation,
Absolutely.
about growth and how we apply these things to our
Yes.
life.
Right.
But we got to go to a break. We have sponsors of this show, so we got to take a quick break. Want to thank our sponsors, Miss Perfect by T, also Greater New Psalmist, Hotbox, and Lima Umadop. Don't go nowhere. It's the all-new Rise and Grind morning show. Expect the unexpected, because we about to get into it with the judge.
Yes.
Is just around the corner, and once again, Ohioans have 3 good choices for how to vote. Polls will be open on November 3rd, and early in-person voting is available through November 2nd. You can also request and cast an absentee ballot from the convenience of your own home. No matter which method you choose, you can be confident that your vote is secure and your voice will be heard. Let's vote, Ohio. Go to voteohio.gov for voting locations and hours. Sponsored by Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, aired by the OAB and this station.
If you're tired of church as usual and you're looking for something invigorating, exciting with passion, then the Greater New Psalmist Baptist Church, 3251 Glendale, is the place for you. We are a people that's determined to occupy all streets while cultivating cultural change. The only thing's missing is you. Meet us at 3251 Glendale Avenue as we continue to be relevant and occupy all streets while cultivating cultural change.
Another mother in agony watching life unfold, but there is no console. Tell me why we gotta hate each other? Why we can't just love each other? Why we gotta shoot each other?
Yo, look me in the face. We don't even have to hate. Enough money we can chase. Let's uplift the race. Let's get it. Let's get to a place. Let's do it. Sit and talk face to face. Like me. There's a lot that we relate. You don't have to take the bait. Be a man. Anybody put a gun in hand. Anybody can throw their hands. Anybody can choke or slam. Anybody can chase a bag. Let's plan and get them bands. Let's plan to go get them meals. Get back and pay them bills. Tell me why you shoot. Tell me why you hate. Tell me why you can't get on your grind and choose your fate. Let go of anger. Let go of pain. I know the whys. I felt the same. Been there. Cops killing, ops killing. No difference. Jail cells, graveyards, same sentence. I hopped off that porch with no regrets. To take control of life, I had to walk back up them steps.
All the hatred in the world, it really hurts my soul. Another body in the street, another life gone cold. Another mother in agony watching life unfold, but there is no console.
Tell me why. Tell me
why we gotta hate each other.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Why we can't just love each other.
Why? Tell me why.
Why we gotta shoot each other.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Why we can't just love each other.
Rest in peace, Mar. Love you, bro. Rest in peace, Romy. Love you, bro. Rest in heaven, Wax.
Love you, Wax.
R.I.P. to all the homies. Can't forget Spider. As a kid, I was inspired. He put rims on his tires, so tall that you can climb them. Hug your people, love your people. It's time to change. You've been keeping score, let's keep our people. Play a different game. Let go of evil, let's be peaceful. We've seen the movies, change the sequel. I was on those front lines. Went to war with the other side. 09, I was active. I'm not talking online. I fought for respect, and I fought for what's mine. I fought for the game, and I fought for my side. I fight today to break the cycle. That type of life is suicidal. That life ain't it. I hopped off that porch with no regrets. To take control of life, I had to walk back up them steps.
All the hatred in the world, it really hurts my soul. Another body in the street, another life gone cold. Another mother in agony watching life unfold, but there is no console.
Tell me why. Tell me
why we gotta hate each other.
Tell me why.
Tell me why we can't just love each other.
Tell me why. Tell me
why we gotta shoot each other.
Too many people dying for no reason. We gotta stop it, we gotta break the cycle.
Why we can't just love each other.
Tell me why.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
stop taking score. We gotta start protecting our people, uplift our people. The biggest lie we was told is that you gotta die for your respect. There is no word in the dictionary I'm willing to die for, and you shouldn't be neither. Tell me why.
It's the all-new Rise and Grind morning show presented to you by the 419 podcast, heard on iHeart, Facebook, and YouTube. Again, want to thank all of our sponsors. Make sure you go and vote. This election is going to be really, really big. And I'm so excited because this is Working Out Wednesday with the lovely DJ Breezy. And y'all know the sparkling and dazzling Miss Leah Renee.
Hey, hey.
But we have the opportunity to have and retain the judge. Y'all call him Judge Jess. He said we could call him Judge Jess. Let's give another round of applause for Judge Jess in the studio.
Thank you.
So we have some great conversation, DJ Breezy, about his background, where he came from, being from Findlay. He's a girl's dad with raising a teenage daughter. But that goes into now him as the professional.
Yes.
You asked the question a little bit before we went off air about discipline, but then we go into his profession because a lot of people get the mess screwed up. And one thing, Judge, that we have the ability to say, we can say the shit that matters to us. So we can cuss on this one. Expect the unexpected. You ain't got to cuss, but we get straight to the damn point sometimes.
There you go. All right.
What the heck is a common please, Judge?
Yes,
Breezy?
like, well, I just want you to go into it if you have some time.
Sure.
To explain to the viewers and, of course, everyone in the room the differences in the roles of judges.
Right.
And then, of course, your role specifically, which title and what type of judge you fall under.
Sure. Okay. So I am a
Social Studies Live.
There you go. Is it social studies or government or whatever?
Civic and Government Live.
Right. All of it together. Anyway, I am a common pleas judge in Lucas County. There are 10. I'm one of the 10 sitting judges. General division, which means we handle that. Our jurisdiction handles felony criminal cases.
Okay.
And civil cases with amounts in controversy exceeding $25,000. For lawyers, they call it the big boy court because that's where the big cases happen. I mean, all of your TV.
So you in the big courtroom across
So
the
the
street.
federal court.
Well, not federal court.
Okay.
Federal's a different that's federal law.
Okay.
So, and that's a whole different jurisdiction.
Okay.
So, no, common pleas handles state and local laws that have been broken, or if there's a civil case, those types of cases, civil cases. For instance, I have medical malpractice cases.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You have personal injury cases.
Okay.
You have contract, real estate, a number of different types of civil. It's endless with civil cases. That's the larger part of the docket.
Yes.
Criminal cases get all the notoriety.
Okay.
Right.
And they do take up probably a good chunk of the time. I would say 80 to 85% of my daily work schedule is probably tied around criminal cases because of speedy trial rights, especially for those folks in custody, so that we have those cases come up a lot more often. And I have currently, because of COVID, 2 dockets, one this afternoon, Wednesday afternoons, which are in person, and then Thursday mornings, which are Zoomed. Before, I had three half-day blocks for dockets. That's assuming I didn't have a trial, which I had 7 jury trials in my first year. They lasted about a week each. So that's what common pleas judges handle. And again, I said that there's more civil cases. My stats demonstrated about 75% civil to 25% criminal.
Okay.
There's many more civil cases.
So you deal with a lot of society issues.
Well, hey, there's a lot of disputes. I mean,
there are
a lot of disputes, and it could come down to a contractor not getting paid for services, to a car accident, to a doctor or a medical professional committing malpractice.
And is this where they go like you said, and even like for like the landlords and
actually so when you were talking about different types of judges, then you have municipal court, which is a different jurisdiction, and they only handle city of Toledo.
Okay.
So you have, and Sylvania has one, Maumee has one, Oregon has a municipal court. So they handle their city ordinances and laws, and they handle misdemeanors, criminals, crimes. If it turns into a felony, they bind them over to us. So we ended up handling those cases. Occasionally they'll do some felony work, but as it relates to landlord-tenant, there is a housing court. Judge Joe Howe he's a friend of mine too. He's the judge in that court. And that's a municipal court. So they have jurisdiction over that. Now, you say that, and I currently have a case pending involving a dispute regarding property and not so much a landlord-tenant issue, but it came out of that court. So I'm not exactly sure if I have jurisdiction, but it's on my desk right now.
Yeah, so you got to go look into it.
I got to look into it to see if I can even do anything with it. There's a ruling out of that housing court that I have to deal with. So
is that a part of your job as well, making sure that the cases that get, the dockets that come to you, you have to review them to make sure this is something that you're legally able to rule on?
We should. Normally, that's not an issue. That's called subject matter jurisdiction. So that says what kind of case you can handle. And if it's outside of your jurisdiction, it should go to a different court, and you should be touching it. So in that particular case, I'm not sure I have jurisdiction over the case, but it's filed in front of me, and that's actually pending now.
Right.
So but before being a common pleas judge, I was a magistrate, and so there was some questions off the air. And I know we talked about this, Montrese, on Saturday a little bit. You were asking the differences between certain positions.
What is a magistrate judge?
So I've always used the analogy that I was the JV to the varsity team. The varsity team being the judges. But recently, someone gave me a better analogy using Catholicism and said it's a deacon to a priest. And essentially, as a magistrate in domestic relations, we did quite a bit of work. I mean, my caseload was about 800 cases a year. I handled about approximately 30 hearings a month, and we did a lot of the work that the judges do. The judges typically handled pending divorce cases. The magistrates handled all the post-divorce stuff. And any temporary hearing type nature to a pending divorce case, but on occasion we would handle the stuff that the judges did, and had the authority to do so. Judges just had to sign off on it.
Okay, so you trust the magistrate could do, and then. But the judge still,
at the end of the day, the judge still has to sign off on it. So the buck stops with the judge.
So you know what that sounds like, Leah and Bree. Those that had a chance to experience college a little bit on campus, as you talked about, sound like the campus police, and then the real police. So the magistrate judge is the cap. They still got jurisdiction, but on campus, you like, man, you ain't really.
Right. But then they changed that.
They be serious like that. Be like, no, we are the police. We are
I think
the police department. Don't tell them they ain't no police.
At one time, but it was still in that same context of a vein that you ain't really.
So basically like security versus.
Well, probably campus police is probably closer because they are actually police, but that's pretty good because unfortunately, magistrates at one time were called referees.
Really?
They didn't have robes, and sometimes their hearings were held like in an office, maybe even a small room like
that.
Okay. It's kind of evolved into more, and the term is magistrate judge _judge. So. Not all jurisdictions handle it like we do here in Lucas County. The magistrates may be still treated like referees in different jurisdictions. No. There's always been that kind of rivalry, so to speak. I mean, judges are like, "Hey,
this is being recorded live.
Right, you're encroaching on my territory as a judge," and magistrates feeling kind of challenged by that.
Right.
So I never really did. I mean, that didn't bother me one bit. I mean, it's a job. You do your job, but magistrates can handle quite a bit of what judges do.
Much love and respect to the magistrate judges. Yes. How y'all doing?
It sounds a lot too like nurses. Like I know LPNs, they do a lot of the work that RNs do, and they don't get the credit for, or they don't, necessarily get the pay for, but
certainly not.
And so it's that's what that kind of reminds me.
That's a good one too.
Here's another one: nurse practitioner to the doctor.
Exactly.
Nurse practitioner
that's better.
Prescribe medication.
Yeah.
I mean, anymore you go to an urgent care or even go to a doctor's office. Yes. You're not even seeing a doctor anymore.
You're seeing a nurse practitioner.
You're talking to a nurse.
Yeah, so true.
Right.
So we're using those great similarities in terms of the judge's role. What I like too, Breezy, is that also you asked the question about him sitting in the seat of power. But Judge, how did you even get to want to be a judge and then being a because we're retaining your seat. You're already in the seat.
Right.
Correct.
So we're retaining. So tell us share a little bit about how did that happen?
Okay, so I really had no interest in being a judge initially because of the political process.
Right.
I didn't
you
want
in there.
No, as a magistrate, they get appointed by a judge. So I was appointed when I became a magistrate, I was appointed by Judge Lewandowski in Domestic Relations Court. It's an appointed position, so you never have to campaign. You never have to fundraise. You never have to. I mean, you just do your job.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Because they were the council people talk a lot about that. So when you say appoint, basically they just kind of offer you that position and
That's
say,
correct.
"I want you to step into this position."
That's correct.
Like a promotion, basically.
That's
from
correct.
what
So
okay, gotcha.
at the time, Judge Lisa McGowan, who's the other sitting judge in Domestic Relations Court, was the magistrate, and she was elected to replace Judge Zemmelman, who retired. He aged out as the other DR judge. And so there was a vacancy for a magistrate, and Lewandowski offered it to me. So,
awesome.
So then I took the
So
job.
it's about who you know. So you had a good.
Absolutely, because I clerked for him at one time. Lisa and I both were his staff attorneys, bailiff, law clerk, whatever you want to call it. And so we're both off what I would consider the Judge Lewandowski family judicial tree.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Judge
you went
Zamuda,
from like being an attorney to the magistrate?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I was in practice for about 15 years prior to that.
Cool.
And he knew the judge, and he like, that's my guy. So I'm
I know that's right.
Yeah,
I'm glad we
And
know
obviously
the judge.
because of the work in the in what you put in, obviously.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I had that experience. So,
Yeah.
so about at that point in my practice as an attorney, about half of my caseload was domestic relations cases,
Wow.
representing divorce clients, folks in juvenile court or in divorce court having custody actions, domestic violence.
Okay.
And I did a lot of guardian ad litem work. So guardian ad litems represent children in contentious custody cases.
okay.
Right.
So that was a great experience too, because you actually got into homes and met with the children, met with all kinds of professionals, schools, doctors, and you make recommendations to the court as it relates to who should have custody.
Wow.
You would interview the parents, and it was a great experience, and I think it really provided an understanding of what happens in homes, the dynamics, and it also led into a passion of mine that exists today, and that's mental health. I mean, I saw a lot of it in domestic relations as an attorney, as a guardian ad litem, and as a magistrate, the issues that folks have. Substance abuse has taken the forefront media-wise with opiate addiction, and rightly so, I understand it. It's a big problem. However, mental health is equally a problem in the community. And frequently when I'm looking at pre-sentence investigation reports before I sentence a defendant, you will see their history littered with mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And frequently we are recommending dual diagnosis assessments, and that's treatment for both substance abuse and mental health.
Gotcha.
Quite a
Because
bit.
they go hand in hand. A lot of times people don't understand that they're using the drugs to try to pacify or suppress the mental issues that they have going on.
Right.
So, I mean, to exclude one and not include the other, to me is, so it's good to hear that there's options for both being
Absolutely.
offered.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of agencies, in my opinion, that treat mental health with the numbers that we have. So,
And
they get taxed.
You were talking to me and Treese yesterday. You know, we had called you, doing some pre-prep,
Sure.
and you told us about a scenario or
Yes.
a young lady that you helped. Talk about that.
Yes, I had an elderly African-American lady that showed up in arraignment. She was charged with, I believe, a felony to second degree assault, and I don't remember what the other charges were. She had broken into the home of the victim with the understanding that that was her fiance, and the person didn't know her, and attacked the person. So,
And she was charged with a felony too.
felony 2,
Which is jail time.
and she attacked him physically. Yeah,
Wow.
she was in custody when she was brought in, and I'm like looking at her. I'm like, oh my God, what could this person possibly have done?
Right.
She looked so frail and small. Well, as the case progressed, I got a good taste of the mental health issues that were going on there. Now, mind you, the facts totally supported in a normal case a felony charge, a felony of the second degree, which has a presumption of incarceration, prison time, and if the prosecutors had chosen to take it to trial, probably would have succeeded in getting a conviction of the felony of second degree. I didn't think that was right. So, and I was able, with communication with the prosecutor and defense attorney, try to fashion something where we could find treatment for this person, the defendant.
That's amazing.
And we did.
That's amazing.
So they were able, and the prosecutor graciously, dropped the level of the charge in order to find community control versus prison.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And you advocated for that.
That is
Judge,
amazing.
From the seat of power.
Absolutely.
And if you would, just kind of share with our viewers and our listeners, because some of people are listening to us on iHeartRadio.
Okay.
Judge, how did you get in the seat of being a common pleas judge?
Okay.
To answering that.
The governor appointed me. So I was
of Ohio?
appointed. Yep. I met him.
So
at
you
his
knew the
mansion.
governor?
I didn't know him at the time, but there was an interview process. There was 2 sets of interviews. The first one with 3 members of his cabinet. I think the general counsel, and I forget what the other positions, the other 2. I think the other one was an attorney within his counsel also.
Okay.
And the third gentleman, I don't remember what his title was. He was a former prosecutor, but given that it was a judicial seat, he had attorneys doing the interviewing.
Okay.
That interview lasted probably an hour and a half. I mean, I was
Wow.
peppered with questions. We had to fill out like an 80-page questionnaire in advance
Wow.
of it. And so then the next round of interviews, that was with the governor. And I got 10 minutes of his time, at which point he appointed me.
Right here in Lucas County?
No, down in Columbus at his mansion.
Oh. Well, excuse me.
Well.
Yeah.
Welcome to my
The
house.
governor's mansion.
What?
Yeah, they do get a mansion if you didn't know.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
So it happened in Columbus, but you were appointed to serve here in Lucas County.
Correct. It was for the vacancy at Lucas County. So the seat that I took was, my predecessor was Judge Zamuda, Gene Zamuda.
Gene Zamuda.
He ran for appellate court and won. So the judicial terms are 6 years, and they're set by statute. They don't move. It doesn't matter what happens with whoever's in that seat. It's already set. So he completed, I believe, 2 years of a term that he had been elected to when he won the election to appellate court.
Yep.
So I jump in, and then I had to run the year after I was appointed. So I was appointed in March of 19, and then here we are in 20, and I'm running.
And you're running.
So,
okay.
and if I'm successful, and I intend to be successful, I will have to run again in 2 years. 2 years after that to complete the 6-year term. I got to fulfill the term, and then at that point it'll be a 6-year term for whoever wins.
So who's your running mate?
My running mate? There's no running mate.
All right. Well, not running mate, but
opponent?
your opponent. Yeah.
Lori Olander. She's a prosecutor in juvenile court.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm glad, Leah, you brought up that conversation, Judge, and you shared that particular story of an African woman who was an elderly, who, Breezy, like she said, she was facing an F2. And when we talk from the streets to the suites, you going to jail with an F2 felony. F1, F2, you going to jail. And to hear the judge say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's look at all of the circumstances on the behaviors or the actions. Ladies, that's huge.
It is.
That's very huge, because especially with African Americans and Latinos, I know we all know about we're all familiar with the injustices that go on in the justice system, and that could have went so bad for that woman. And so the fact that you stepped in and you were like, no, we need to look at all the options, and we need to give her some type of treatment. She needs to be treated, not just thrown in jail. You know what I mean? And so with your campaign, do you talk about like the injustices that happen in the justice system? Is that something that you...
in this campaign has been an odds because of COVID. It really hasn't had we haven't had an opportunity. I'm enjoying this today because I haven't had a chance to talk about a lot of things. We didn't get festivals, and Saturday was great because I was with people. I was out there in the community. In a normal traditional campaign year, I would have been talking to folks about a lot of things, and so I never really had that opportunity as it relates to your question, but. One of the things when I was a magistrate that became a big thing training-wise for magistrates and judges, and probably attorneys also, was implicit bias. So there was a lot of talk about the biases that judges, magistrates, and I think they had them for attorneys also, have when they are making decisions and their preconceived perceptions of race pop in.
Right.
Fortunately for myself, I'm bringing in a bit of color to the
right.
we
got a brown face.
That's right, and I like to think that I'm colorblind when I'm
with
up
some
there.
seasoning.
That's right. So as it relates to this story with this elderly lady that we kind of talked about and helped, I've had also people that are white that have had similar type issues, and I've also looked out for them also.
Yeah.
Right.
Mental health, it doesn't.
It's not just one culture.
I remember a divorce case that I was handling as a magistrate in which the female, the mom, she didn't have custody at the time during the divorce case. The father did. And she had bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. And it was really bad. And there was a legitimate reason why father had custody at the time. And that was in the nature of a divorce case. Or during the pendency of a divorce case. It wasn't done yet. However, I believe the father, thinking that he had to protect his kids, was really fighting tooth and nail, and was very, I thought, over the top with attacking the other side to get custody of the kids. And I said, I had to put a stop to that too. I was like, look, imagine she had leukemia,
right,
and she couldn't care for the kids because she was taking chemo. Would you be attacking her?
Right. Nope.
You would not. And I go, mental health is a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
It's not. No one chooses to have mental health. It's a curse. It's
Nobody
a cross.
walks around saying, I want to be schizophrenic.
That's
every
right.
day.
That's the homeless problem. That's why that's another thing I want to, as part of the mental health problem.
Hit the love button. This is we try to stay entertaining and engaging because it is a rise and grind. So all the viewers that's weighing in, make sure you hit the love button. Also, call 419-540-3566. Ask the judge.
419, what's on your mind? Give us a call at 419-540-3566. We want to hear from you.
Leah, I'm so glad that you asked the judge that question, and we get a chance to have our viewers. We're getting a lot of love right now.
We're getting a lot of love, Judge.
Hit the heart button for Judge Jess, being one of the judges and a person, Leah, of power that's looking at the whole circumstances and not just making a decision.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, just again, speaking on injustices that go on in the system, do you see challenges as being a ethnic individual? Do you have those challenges with other people who may not be your, who may not understand your culture or who you are, where you come from? Do you have challenges in the system with that? That's one question. And then also, have you ever seen injustice happening, with other judges where you felt like I need to step in, or I need to not necessarily step in, but you felt like something is wrong here. This judge is biased. He or she is making a decision that's not right. And have you ever wanted to say something or intervene or do something? And I don't even know if you can, but I'm just wondering.
Well, as it relates to the first question, have I experienced?
Okay, let's just say, have you experienced racism within your field, your industry?
No, I have not.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it hasn't existed.
Right.
I just in my personal experience, I have not.
Well, that's good.
Joining this group, I think I work with 9 other wonderful judges.
That's
with
amazing.
all different types of philosophies. I think Lucas County is blessed to have 10 good judges.
Well, that's amazing.
I absolutely get along with every one of them. I enjoy going to work to see my coworkers, the judges, and the staff, the personnel. I think we just have a very good group in Lucas County, and I think the Lucas County resident is blessed to have the group that's currently there.
Wow.
Well, that's comforting. That makes me feel better.
It does,
Yeah,
and I'm glad you said that, Leah. And Judge, thank you for weighing that, because we often think Lucas County, Toledo is not an engaging place. It doesn't have a warm welcome. So to hear you say that, that you enjoy the other 9 judges that you work with, and it is engaging, it gives hope. Because there's somebody listening that might want to get into the justice field.
Yeah, I will tell you that, we have monthly meetings, and we don't always see eye to eye. Sometimes those meetings get a little contentious.
It get hot in there? Expect the unexpected.
But you know what, though? That's the point of the perspectives that everybody brings to the table.
Yes,
everybody, the minute you think you've learned everything, you need to walk away.
That's right.
You can always learn.
That's right.
And so different perspectives may provide a different way of looking at something that may lead to a better result.
Right.
Not always, but maybe.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've learned here at the 419 Grind, because there are 4 of us that are partnered in this company, and we all came together, just meeting each other, just, creating this bond and this relationship and this family. And we've had to have our meetings. We sit down and have our, our meetings. our regular meetings, and we have had our moments, you know, where it gets hot, it gets contentious a little, you know, but we're all able to bring it back and step back and see the bigger picture. You know, the ultimate, at the end of the day, we all have one common goal, and that's to make sure that the 419 grind succeeds, you know. And so you got to put your emotions to the side and focus on the issue at heart.
Well, and that goes with judges. I mean, at the end of the day, the administration of justice in a fair and impartial way is the goal.
Yeah.
And everything we do is towards that end.
Yeah.
DJ Breezy.
Yes.
So I'm listening to Judge Gonzalez, and we got people weighing in. That's our viewers and listeners. Mike Zatowski says Judge Jess has my vote. But what I am so pleased, and I can say this, and I ain't got to bite my tongue about it. I share with you, I'm a convicted felon. But to those that's going through the legal system, to hear and to see a judge say, I'm going to look at your circumstances before I make a decision on you, and to know that there are other judges now, and I don't think, and I don't know, I can't say if it wasn't before, but DJ Breezy, when we talk about work it out, we have judges now looking at not just the person, but maybe the problem.
Yeah.
Or why this person keeps coming before me and popping up on my docket.
Correct. And a lot of times people, I mean, it's been some conversations had this week about a lot of things that I've seen, you know, that went viral in regards to, I don't know if you guys seen that video with the Cherry Woods, that young lady that, and a lot of people just kept saying, you can't, they have to want it for themselves, And even though that is true, a lot of people have not been even introduced to some type of positive light long enough for them to even want that.
Yeah.
It is a product of the environment that contributes to a lot of what you see with people.
Yeah,
a lot of times
absolutely.
That's all they know.
Yeah. That's right.
And yes, I'm not saying that there hasn't been a caseworker, there hasn't been a family member, someone that has tried to reach out, but it wasn't consistent enough, or it's not around them enough for them to even want to try something different. And I believe looking at that when you're doing, you know, the cases, it's like, okay, yes, jail time, but force the treatment. You know, to me, I'm big on that because the funding is in the system. So you can't say, oh, well, we don't have time. You do.
Yeah.
If you can send someone to prison and just put them in there, don't care what they do, you know, of course, that's just, and they get used to that. Like, all right, you'll hear them say that. I'll walk that little time down there. But then when you force them, it's either, look, you're either going to do this or, you know, put them in that position to where, all right, you need to work on your mental health. Yeah. You need to work on your substance abuse.
So when they're released, they
have some type of different, you know, and of course it's not going to happen overnight. But this is a repeat offender. This is somebody. So yeah, what is it? Let's get to the root cause here. Right. And I'm not just a judge. You know, I think even if judges, I know you have a job to do to help clean up and to keep our streets safe. But for them to know, because sometimes they don't even hear that anyone cares about them. I care enough for you to stop coming into my courtroom.
That's it.
For the same issues.
Absolutely.
So let's see how we can help you.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you. Let's see. Come back. I'm gonna put you on this. You know, put you on this regimen.
Yeah. And see what it does.
When you come back in front of me, excuse me, I want to see how good you did.
Right.
Well, that's exactly, I mean, it's funny you say it that way because that's exactly what I say when I
say
okay. Yeah. I'm kind of like, look, I'm looking at your PSI here.
Right.
Sense investigation report. It's clear to me that you have this particular issue. How do we fix it?
Yes.
Well, this is my suggestion with the court services that we have via community control. I mean, it's all aimed at keeping you out of prison and hopefully rehabilitating you. I am a big on rehabilitation. I believe in that.
I think, and I know you said your common pleas, and so I know that like child support court is obviously something different, right?
Child support is in juvenile and domestic relations.
Okay, so I think it's so big, especially like for judges in that field, to like really investigate case by case what's going on, because there's so many, you know, for males and females, fathers and mothers who don't have custody of their kids, they're put on a child support order, and then for whatever reason they're not paying the child support, and then the first thing is let's take their driver's license. Second thing is now they're going to jail. Okay, now if that's okay, if a parent is not completely doing anything for their kid,
right?
Okay, granted, if they're in jail or, if they don't have a driver's license, it's like whatever, because they weren't doing anything for the kid anyway. But what can we do once we take that driver's license or once we put them in jail? What can we do to ensure that, while they're there, they get themselves together so that when they come home, they can now start being a father or being a mother? You know what I mean? Like, don't you think that something like that should be implemented to where they should put them, even like what you said with mental health, like maybe there's an issue up there, that that person isn't even aware of, know?
Well, fortunately, I think the prosecutors or attorneys that represent child support are cognizant of those types of issues, so those folks don't normally go to jail. I mean, when I was working in domestic relations as a magistrate and practicing as an attorney there, it was probably a small percentage of folks that actually made it to jail, and had their license suspended. Because I mean, even the agency would tell you that you take away that license, you're just taking away their means to make money.
To go to work.
But it was the last ditch thing to wake these people up, because I mean, some folks just don't care. I mean, I was on the list to get appointed to the delinquents. That's what we call them, for child support, and it was always a chore for me to talk to these parents and say, look, you have a responsibility and obligation to that child. I don't want to hear that I buy them shoes.
Right.
Shoes don't put the lights on and don't keep the heat on.
That's right, Judge.
So, I did quite a bit of counseling in that regard as a parent, understanding what it's like. So I think there was a question earlier. It's like, what is it like, to have a daughter? Well, I can tell you in practice of law, if you didn't have the perspective before, you certainly do then as to what the obligations and responsibilities are as being a parent. So as it relates to folks that have a child support order, it was always easy for me to tell them, it's like, look, the second you decided to have that child, the night you decided to have that child, you took on a responsibility and an obligation.
In the car.
Wherever it was at.
Pull over.
Wherever it was at.
We don't want to hear, I told her to get rid of it. You knew what you were doing when you went in, okay?
Right.
And exploded.
You're on the hook.
Well, no.
That's right.
No.
What?
We ain't doing that. Because I'm on child support.
Oh, goodness.
And I put myself with my son's mother on child support.
Sure.
Now, with some of my employment issues, it weighed in on our child support. But we went together to make sure that our son had health care, because when my son's mother lost her employment and there was a change in my employment, we went, and I didn't want to go without that. Now, because of those changes, other things have taken place where now the child support orders is being weighed in and things of that nature. So it's we can't just say because of child support, because one thing that I do know, and we talk about this all the time, I don't care what resources. Lucas County, our justice system provides so many supportive services for individuals upon release.
Right.
It's on them if they don't want to. Even the judge, and you notice, Judge, when you render your decisions, a person may come out for a parole hearing. You was incarcerated for 2 years. You didn't get your GED in that 2 years. Yes, it's likely that the judge or the parole board is not going to release you because you didn't do what you were supposed to do with limited distractions.
Right.
So, Judge, I think sometimes people don't take advantage of the supportive services that are in place already.
Well, we have, instead of going to prison, we give them community control. And quite frequently, these defendants come back with violations of the conditions of community control. And even then, normally they don't see the inside of a jail cell. We still give them opportunities with the services that are out there, but some people,
and they didn't hear what you said the first time. They still want to be hard-headed for whatever reason.
You've heard the saying, you can drag them to water, but you can't make them drink.
So
That's
true.
Right. So some of them, it's on them. So
absolutely,
I think, in my opinion, being a pretty new to the judiciary as a judge, in my experience, I think judges exercise a lot of discretion in giving community control and give a lot of chances. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many double-digit felonies a lot of felons and defendants have and get community control.
What you mean?
Meaning that they've committed adult felonies, 25. They have 25 in their history, and they get community control because of the statute. If it's an F4 and F5, there's a presumption of community control.
Wow, that's that, and that's that political scope.
That's right, and the public doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And frankly, we don't talk about it a lot because I think it would make
Yes.
the law and order folks out there very mad and angry. It's like, really, we're letting, but there's jails. There's overcrowding.
Yeah. So when you're speaking of community control? Sure. What is that? What type of scopes? Like, is it, because I know a lot of times, community service.
It's another term for probation. If you have a felony, it's called community control. If you have a misdemeanor, it's called probation.
So when you're on probation, that's just your warning, like, don't get in trouble.
Well, if in our court, rarely, I think I've had 2 defendants that have inactive probation where they're just on probation, but they don't have to do anything.
Okay, right.
You have conditions, so it may be drug testing. It may be mental health services. It may be,
community service
with violent crimes. There's no contact.
And you guys, again, like you said, go case by case and decide what
would fit for them.
Yes, and we get a report that recommends certain from the probation department, and I normally follow that, or sometimes I'll add or deduct from what they've recommended. But they're pretty good about recommending the services that are needed for this particular defendant.
Okay.
And it's on the defendant. And it's under the supervision of the adult probation. And then when they violate, we get reports, and it's up to the judge to decide on whether we set it for a hearing or not.
Okay.
So.
And I used to, one of my other opportunities, I served as the minority of opiate and heroin. So you talked about that earlier. We see it in a different scope, Judge, in the black and brown community.
Yes.
I grew up, I graduated from Savannah Southview. Opiate and heroin and meth, it looked totally different in Savannah as opposed to look to the inner city of Toledo.
Right.
So when we see the differences, we see jail and incarceration in the hood. Most of the guys, they want to sell the heroin, the chime, they want to sell it.
Right.
On the flip side, Savannah, our outskirts, our Finleys, our other counties, you see the user, but you don't see the same criminal. You don't see the same criminal impact on those, or those decisions weighed on that.
Right.
That's why with having you in here today speaking, that let's look at that scenario of who that person was on the impact of opiate and heroin, because it impacts our communities in a whole new. I didn't see growing up on the Junction community. I ain't see no overdoses. We didn't see that. We saw that out in Savannah.
That's right.
Now we're seeing ODs in the hood, Narcan, like we had at the Hill. You seeing black people take Narcan? So it's impacting us a whole lot different, which what I hear you saying to us in the studio, that is changing even our justice system. And there's some ramifications that judges are taking in consideration and not leading incarceration. And some of those individuals have multiple felony offenses.
It's so interesting that we're talking about this right now, because I have my own show called Real Table Talk, and last night I interviewed a young lady who was in the news. She and her boyfriend had overdosed in a car on fentanyl, and the children, they were rushed to the hospital, and the children were taken from her. And she told me while she was telling the story that when that happened, because I was like, so when you woke up and came to and the police were there and everything, so like, did you get sent to jail right then and there? And she was like, no, I went home. I'm like, what do you mean you went home? No, I think she said they did get sent to the hospital. And then that night they were released from the hospital and just went home. Like nothing happened. And I'm like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah, I showed up the next day to try to pick up my kids, because I was in that state of mind. I'm a drug addict. So I was I woke up the next day like nothing had happened, was about to go get my kids. And it was her grandmother and her mother who was like, no, ma'am, you just overdosed. Like, you're not taking these kids. And she lost her kids.
Right.
So in that scenario, it's like, how do the police and the people show up on a scene like this and nothing happens in that scenario? You know what I mean? It's so different from like the crack era that happened, and like Tree said, we see that like with this opioid and heroin thing, it's being treated a little differently than it was when crack was out here, affecting the black community. And there's people where they won't be reprimanded for this opioid stuff, and they're looking at it as like it's a disease. But what about, you know, when the black community was being affected by this disease of crack and cocaine and, you know, and all of that? And so do you think that possibly now, because of what happened with the crack era and the devastation that it caused, do you think that that's why the justice system is now looking at this epidemic, you know, is it epidemic? Is that the word? Or
that's what they're calling it.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, like,
right.
do you think that has had some influence on now? Okay, we need to approach this differently.
You know, I don't know. That's probably a question for the legislators. I mean, you know, when it comes
You like,
to us
I ain't
judges-
touching that one.
Well, no, it's not that. I mean, I honestly, I think there has been I think you're right. I've heard people talk about this, that there's been a different approach to this versus crack in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can think of is possibly just from a philosophical standpoint is the way each epidemic started.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of blame with the opiate crisis was laid at the feet of the pharmaceuticals who didn't tell. I mean, it started with people taking medications legally, and then being taken off of those and not knowing the addictive qualities to the drug. I think that's the only thing. I mean, that's my theory, but I mean, but certainly, you're absolutely right. There has been a little bit of a different response.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, back in the days, you know, the people who were, if you were caught overdosed off crack, you got sent to jail too. You and the person that you bought it from. And now, you know, they're just getting sent home.
Well,
So I don't know. I don't know.
They do end up in front of a judge, though.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
whether they sit in a jail cell that night, and it doesn't change the fact that they're probably going before court.
So can I ask a question while we're talking about the drugs?
Sure.
What is your take on the sentence time for the people who, whether they're first time offenders, you know, and they get caught with drug cases, and they get the large sentences for the offense of selling drugs versus you know, those who may have, you know, committed a crime against a child or a murder or things of that nature. What is your standpoint on that? Because in our community, we do see that a lot. You will see, you know, someone, and it'll be personally, because a lot of times we do work and interact. You know, I worked in the emergency room for a long time. So my coworkers, I'm hearing their stories, you know, and they're nurses and doctors coming from all over different areas, and you hear what happened to their kid or a family member and what they did and the sentence they received. Then, you know, I know of someone personally that, you know, got caught with some weed or, you know, had a drug case and got literally like maybe triple the time. Right. So what is your standpoint on it? How do you feel about that? And do you think that there may be a change in wave of that? Or what is the, being a judge, how do you look at that?
Well, as it relates to trafficking and possession of drugs, there's the legislature, state legislature here in Ohio is looking at it differently. I know there are bills proposed at reducing the penalties for possession type crimes versus trafficking.
Right.
So they're shifting their focus to, if you traffic, we're going to hammer you.
Yeah.
If you're in possession of it, not so much. And they're trying. There's a movement towards decriminalizing.
It is
marijuana. I mean, there is a movement in that direction. So I think, as it relates to your question with regard to that, that's where it's at right now, at least from the legislature standpoint. Whether those bills are passed, I don't know.
Right.
Violence against children is a whole different animal, and on a personal level, which is probably shared by most people. I would say I'm not something special here, but I
you
assume
are.
most people.
You're on the #1 urban podcast show in the country.
Well, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But as it relates to my philosophy on crimes against children, I would think a majority of the population shares the belief that those should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
So why do we not see that? Like, why are we seeing these men, you know, oh, he's raped 15 kids and he's got 6 months of probation. Like, how is this happening?
Well, I haven't seen that in our court. I could tell you, I saw, like, since I've been a judge, it was one case, I believe, out of Cuyahoga County that received national attention, and there were quite a few attorneys chiming in here locally about travesty that sentence had.
Right.
And the only thing I can say in response is based on my experience as a judge is that when you're looking at a PSI, what you see in the news and what you get in a news story is just a tip of the iceberg as to the information that the judge has available to them. So there may be a lot of circumstances that went into that sentence. So I was a little defensive for the judge not knowing what went into that sentence, saying, you know what, maybe there's something going on here. Maybe there's mental health. Maybe there was a consensual. I mean, we see that quite a bit. Sadly.
Right, where most of the time it happened to them.
It's like a stepchild and a step parent that has a relationship. You know, it's more frequent than you would imagine. And so sometimes you have the victim come in and testify that I don't want to see jail for this person. You know, you have that stuff happen. So there's a lot that goes into a sentence that the public doesn't see.
Right.
And that's those things that, you know, honestly, I had one where it was spouse rape. It was one of the hardest things I sat through. I even commented on it. I mean, there was not a dry eye in the room.
Wow.
I predicted that the spouse would recommend community control for, I mean, it was a high level felony. And I hated it. I mean, I don't normally talk during sentences unless a defendant asks for it. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those judges that lectures you from up there. If you're under a lot of pressure in front of me already to begin with.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, the public may want to see that from a judge. I'll leave that to the other judges that like to hear themselves talk. I will just sentence, but on occasion I will chime in if it requires it.
Yeah.
In this particular case, I felt like saying, you know, I hate this.
Yeah.
This is the part of the job that judges absolutely hate. Having the sentence because they have to. It's set by law when maybe the right result is something else. We're bound by the law.
Judge, we have a few more minutes and don't want to weigh up your time, but we got to go to a quick break.
Sure.
And when we come back, we'll kind of wrap things up with Judge Jess with us. And I will say this, I don't want this to be the last time.
Absolutely
we
not.
want to be
Happy to go
just to kind of advise the public on different things and questions as you could imagine, and even maybe creating you a community council for issues like that. And we can talk more about that when we come back. It's the all-new Rise and Grind Morning Show presented to you by the 419 Grind. Thanks to our sponsors, Lima Humadop, Miss Perfect Boutique, Greater New Psalmist, and Hotbox.
Is just around the corner, and once again, Ohioans have 3 good choices for how to vote. Polls will be open on November 3rd, and early in-person voting is available through November 2nd. You can also request and cast an absentee ballot from the convenience of your own home. No matter which method you choose, you can be confident that your vote is secure and your voice will be heard. Let's vote, Ohio. Go to voteohio.gov for voting locations and hours. Sponsored by Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, aired by the OAB and this station.
If you're tired of church as usual and you're looking for something invigorating, exciting with passion, then the Greater New Psalmist Baptist Church, 3251 Glendale, is the place for you. We are a people that's determined to occupy all streets while cultivating cultural change. The only thing's missing is you. Meet us at 3251 Glendale Avenue as we continue to be relevant and occupy all streets while cultivating cultural change.
What's going on, everybody? This is Lance Self, is who I am.
And I am Arlinda Self.
And we are the Selfs, and here to present our show called Self-Explanatory.
Yes, it's our podcast presented by 419 Grind.
That name just has a ring to it. Self-Explanatory. I feel like we're about to be explaining a bunch of shit. This is true. I feel that's what it's about to be.
Well, I think we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about marriage, of course.
Okay.
We've been married, 2 years now, right?
2 years, we've been together for 8.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. It's a long time.
Y'all going to ask what took so long.
What did take? You know what? We'll get there.
Self-explanatory.
We're going to talk about blended families.
Yeah.
Praying for your spouse. Gender roles. Living with family members. Cheating. Raising kids. Family upbringing. Being there for your spouse. Finances. Being a wife and a husband. trying to be together and be individuals at the same time, which is one of the things.
It took a while.
It's taken a while, but
it has
it's the
taken
fun
a while.
part. We're learning that.
That's what marriage is.
It's a process.
It's a life journey.
I like
it's not
that.
an overnight thing. Yeah, because I know there's a lot of days where I'm trying to be individual. I get on your nerves because of my individual ways. I can tell you one thing for damn sure though. Definitely get on my nerves. It be a lot. She definitely gets on my nerves, but I love her.
I get on your nerves?
Yes, it's possible. You do a lot. What's wrong? What's the problem? What's wrong? Hey. I am Lance Self.
And I am Arlinda Self.
And this is the Self-Explanatory Podcast, presented by 419 Grind.
Listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are heard. This is another 419 Grind exclusive.
Welcome to Financial Friday at the 419 Grind Studio. My name is Victor J. Coleman Jr., also known as the Doctor of Finance. Today's topic, education. As you can see my shirt, it says danger. Education empowers us all, right? It's the way we can ultimately change our family and change our community. So my challenge to you is it's not just in a traditional way, but in the day-to-day life and living, educate yourself. What is it you can learn today that will make your life today better tomorrow? My challenge would be to get on YouTube University and learn something. Many of the college courses that I have taken, I've found similar courses on YouTube. You can go and take those courses. Don't let the lack of diploma discourage you. I often brag that, hey, I graduated from YouTube University and that's how I learned to renovate houses. So don't be ashamed to get your education from where you can get it from. Education with the price tag makes it no better. Trust me. I know people who went to college and they're not even working in the field that they've got the degree. So don't be discouraged because you don't have a diploma from a particular university to say that I did it. Go out there and learn what you can learn. Start your own business and grow. But most importantly, never stop learning. I watched my mom most of my life. She worked 2 and 3 jobs, but she's never stopped learning. In fact, I think she might still be in school today. So my point is continue to learn. Continue to give yourself the edge over your competition by learning new things, new tips, new tricks, new tools. Add it to your tool belt and go out there and be fierce and fight for what's yours. That's this week's financial tip, because education can change your life. Education can increase your finances. Again, my name is Victor J. Coleman Jr., known as the Doctor of Finance. For more tips and tricks like these, please send me a text, 419-909-6196, or follow us on all social media sites at the 419 Grind.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, it's your girl DJ Breezy. I am in the room with the lovely Leah Renee, Big Treese, and we have the judge in the office, in the studio with us today. So we have been having some excellent conversation, and like Treese was stating when we were on break, how the 419 Grind, it's one of the, like I said, we're going to claim the #1 podcast. That's out right now.
We're going to make sure you vote too, Judge, before you leave.
Yes, and it's focused on, bringing businesses together, promoting businesses, promoting wealth and knowledge. We, not just to be a podcast, but times like this when we have officials and judges like yourself coming on and actually giving us knowledge for people who may have not known these type of things, and you're taking the time out. Like it's great. It's a wonderful experience. And like Big Treese always asks, he's like, "What's the mood?" In the in the studio. And I will always say it's positive vibes and positive conversation. So thank you again for coming in with us.
So before we left, Judge, we were talking about just some of the cases, some of the things that we see in our community, in our neighborhoods that impact us. Sure. And now we want to get a chance to talk a little bit about the campaign. And I know Leah, she keeps great content and conversation about the campaign, the community, how important it is to vote. Leah, let him have it. Expect the unexpected.
I'm not gonna let you have
Oh,
it.
she's trying to be.
I feel like
Know
I've
the
already asked most of my,
Sure.
difficult questions. I guess, but they weren't even. You didn't handle them like they were difficult. You handled them like a boss.
Great
I
job.
love it. But yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting you for the first time at the Hill event last weekend at Savage Park, and you were so warm, so inviting, so welcoming, and that to me was like wow, because when he told me who you were and you were a judge, I'm like, oh, okay, like because your first initial approach with me, I would just think you were a regular person. Not to say that judges aren't regular people, but you know what I mean. I definitely wouldn't expect you to be a judge. So you were so welcoming and so open, and you were there for that community event when you don't have to be, at the end of the day. And so why is it so important to be out in your community during this campaign season and just even in general, and connecting with us?
Well, for campaigning purposes, it's exposure. I mean, as a new judge, this is my first foray into politics. So a lot of folks in town don't really know who Judge Gonzalez is. And
they will now because you are on the number one
podcast. That's right. I love it. So no, it's exposure. I mean, that everything that politicians do during campaign season is meant to put themselves in a person's face so they know that name when they go into the ballot to go vote. But as it relates to the community thing, and we touched on this earlier, it's just something that I feel is important for judges to do. We carry clout with that position, and I think that clout can be utilized to encourage others to volunteer in the community, to do things in the community. It should be a community-oriented approach to fixing problems that the community has.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I just have noticed it as a judge versus when I was a magistrate or an attorney. It means more to folks, and I think you're more apt to get people to volunteer to help when they know a judge is getting in the mix of things and getting their hands dirty.
Yeah.
You know what, Judge, and I'm glad you asked that question, Leah, because your outreach. So now because of COVID, social distancing, and all the things that we have going on locally, statewide, and nationally, we have to use these tools and these methods to have outreach. And this is something that this is recorded history right now.
Sure.
Your family's going to be able to see it, the judges that you mentioned. So using this approach of your media outreach to reach communities, Judge, this is big.
Yes, it is. It is. It's huge. I mean, that's why I'm happy to be here today.
And so what are some of your ideas for outreach? Because as you said, I mean, of course, for campaign purposes, you guys are out there because you want exposure.
Right.
But the community doesn't want you guys out there just for exposure. Obviously we want you in the community because you really want to be in the community and because you really see issues that need to be resolved. So what is your plan going forward to really try to improve the community and build those relationships with the citizens?
Once you're retained as judge.
Yes.
That's right. Well, I mentioned...
Hit the love button, hit the like button, retain Judge.
Yes.
Let's retain him. He said he coming back. Hit the like, hit the love. But like Leah said, once retaining that seat, what can we expect?
Well, and hopefully COVID lifts shortly.
If it doesn't.
If it doesn't, I mean, there's still going to be an approach to try to get into the schools for mentoring purposes. Right. I found the junior high age group is the soft spot, hopefully, of capturing these kids and providing examples to these kids of what they can accomplish via hard work and determination. We talked about it earlier that not having positive influences sometimes is lacking, and so they don't have it, so they go a different way. Well, maybe a judge coming in will encourage others to come in with that judge and provide examples. And look, people of color, I mean, those are the examples that they need to see someone like them and say, he did it, maybe I can too.
That's right. Treese talks all the time about being a felon, and he says, even to our intern Dewan, they had a conversation one day, and he, or no, it wasn't Dewan. We had another individual who was in here interested in getting a position, and he was saying he was trying to get some stuff expunged. And Treese asked him, why exactly do you want to have it expunged? He said, I don't know if you know, but I'm a felon, and I sit in some of the rooms with some of the most important people,
Sure.
So at the end of the day, it's not about your past and what you've come from, it's about making it out. And, like you said, when people like Treese or me, connect and affiliate ourselves with people like you and different organizations, we can show these kids that it can be done, because I say it all the time too. I was a mess. I was a complete mess. And if I could make it through everything I, did and was and get to this point, anyone can.
Right. Absolutely.
when we talk about the power, Breezy and Leah, of relationships.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in our communities, right? And we talk about what many of us are holding in our hand 23 hours of the day, our phones.
Yep.
So it's all about now what people see.
Yes.
So if they see us connected to a judge who's a sitting judge, and even to, and I was sharing this with Leah, say for example, it may not be me again, I hope not, but maybe a family member that goes before Judge Gonzalez, and now they need a letter, a character letter, or a letter of support, and you see it now with the letterhead from the 419 grind to say, wow, that's the family. I know Leah, I know Breezy. And maybe that takes consideration because of who you know. Does that work? Does it work like that?
It can. I mean, I'll take into consideration anything.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
And I want people to know this, Judge, because you have already been serving. I don't want us to miss that. And how long have you already been sitting in that seat?
About a year and a half.
So this isn't something new. He has a little bit of season on him right now.
Absolutely. A very short period of time. In addition to the fact that we had to administer justice during a pandemic, which caused all kinds of havoc.
I can't even imagine what that was like.
I mean, so, you know, I'm now.
Your first case was what? During the pandemic?
No, actually, I had my 7 jury trials in the very first 12 months, and the last one was a murder trial that occurred the week that DeWine shut everything down.
Wow.
And so we were able to finish it off. I was worried in the beginning that it would probably taint the jury and their attention. And fortunately, they were a very good jury, and we were able to get it done.
Yeah.
So, but you know, post that, it's a different world inside that courthouse. I mean, there's a judge right now having a trial, and there's all the social distancing X's in the hallway for jury selection that occurred yesterday. He had to borrow my conference room in addition to another judge's conference room in order to keep people distanced. We're having to figure ways to administer justice.
Wow.
So in addition to the rigors of the job, then we had added all this other stuff, and you know, now I'm trained to do that too, I suppose. But
I was supposed to do jury duty. I got a letter, a notification.
If you don't go, you will get.
Yeah, no, but it was literally like I got the letter probably like a few weeks before they shut everything down, then you know everything was shut down. I was like, yes,
you got out. But you know what? I've been so when I had my first jury trial, I anticipated every juror trying to get out of jury duty for using every excuse under the sun. And in those 7 trials, every juror, I mean, I rarely found a juror that just absolutely wanted out.
Right.
And in fact, after each juror that was selected and actually sat through the trial, afterwards they all commented the same way, that was educational. I'm glad I did it. I felt like I did my civic responsibility, and I was blessed with good juries.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was good to hear.
One thing with the state of Ohio, and Leah mentioned, and I told you on Saturday, I had a chance to share with you, being a convicted felon. But I sit on the Governor DeWine's, I sit on his task force. He has a task force, and I also sit as the chair for the Secretary of State, Frank LaRose.
Sure.
And I was always worried about getting my record expunged, because I don't want nobody to know, no, Judge, I'm going to use that as a strength.
Sure.
Yes, there was some things that came on, and in this particular case, it was just because of the reciprocity agreement. But I want people to listen, that's weighing in, to have a checker pass. You can use your background as a stepping stone. And you mentioned that at Savage Park this weekend.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that the reason why I mentioned that is because in Ohio right now, we have just seen more registered voters than ever.
Man.
We're over nearly 11 million people in the state of Ohio. We have over 8 million who have registered to vote.
Right.
So good.
And here in Lucas County, that says great opportunity for individuals like you.
Sure.
Why is that vote, not which way you vote, but why is the voting process so big in a 2020 election from a personal standpoint?
I think the pandemic caused some of it, in my opinion. I think that people were afraid because of social distancing and the virus, to go appear on election day and maybe get stuck in a line or in a room full of people. But I will tell you, I was at early vote all last week, and the line was around the building.
Yeah.
Yesterday was the first day I didn't make it down to early vote to just sit there and talk, and or be there. And it was a 45-minute wait to get in to vote. So people are getting out early vote, quite a few. But I think at one point, there were like 50,000 absentee ballots requested, and this was like about a month in advance of early vote. So they record numbers.
Yes.
And I
So
think
what would you say to the voters here in Lucas County?
vote for Judge Gonzalez.
No, you got to say it like you
Come
mean
on
it.
now.
This is all new Rise and Grind morning show.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm on a #1 podcast for a reason.
Yes, that's right.
Urban podcast. I say
Urban,
that.
That's
Yep.
right.
Because it's descriptive.
And I want the urban vote. I want
right.
people of color to vote for me because I'm bringing a perspective that my opponent doesn't have.
Ooh.
And I just
Expect the unexpected.
It's just the reality of
It
it.
is.
And
Absolutely.
I think that is important. I think we talk about progressive politics. We talk about diversity. Well, I have it.
Right. And I think it's important because there are a lot of people who are not particularly voting the presidential election, but that does not mean you do not still go and exercise your right to vote. And there are so many other, you know, especially like, for instance, your position, there's so much more that you can vote for on a local standpoint that most definitely has a direct effect on you.
Absolutely.
So that is important. So just because you may not feel you want to vote, I mean, you know,
On
we
the
have a lot of people who are just undecided, not sure, but that doesn't mean don't go to the polls and vote at all.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's important to educate yourself, and it's very difficult
Yes.
in this time and age because there's a lot of spin out there. I mean, it takes a lot more time now to vet information to find out what's true, what's being spun,
Right.
what agenda is being sought by
Yeah.
making points to the voters. But what separates us from all the other countries, why I believe we're in the greatest country in the world, is we have that ability to vote and have a say. Even if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, you put in your 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain after
That's
the
right.
fact.
That's what Charlamagne says.
And man, just a great show. And we want to bring some things to a close, Judge. But how can people find out more information about you? Where are some events that you were going to? I know you and DJ Breezy were talking about some events that we'll share with our viewers and our listeners here. But how can people find out more about you? And what are some of the upcoming events that you'll be attending that people can also get a chance to meet Judge Jess?
Well, it just depends on schedule. It seems like my calendar is changing each day. So, I mean, there's a fall festival this Saturday at, I think, what did I say?
Ottawa Park.
That's correct.
6 p.m.
I mean, the zoo's having a pumpkin patch. And what days is that again, DJ?
Yep. So actually, you mentioned the Little Boo. So for those parents out there who are, you know, wanting their kids to still partake in Halloween activities and not sure if they want to go door to door, the Toledo Zoo, check their calendar, go to the website. You can purchase tickets. They have to be advance purchase due to COVID. But they have events all this weekend. The 15th and 16th is Little Boo at the zoo. And then the 17th, 18th is the Pumpkin Path, where you can go, and I'm a part of Big Brother Big Sisters of Northwestern Ohio, and we will be having a table set up and passing out candy, but it's a safe way, fun way, and you're at the zoo. And you know we have the best zoo in the nation. So
Fantastic zoo.
please just make sure you guys check that out. I know a lot of parents have been up in the air about what they're going to do. They have little ones who want to participate in trick-or-treating, but not sure, you know, how to do it this year due to COVID. So there's going to be a lot of things going on, but the Toledo Zoo is one of those spots that you can purchase some advance tickets to. Again, 15th and 16th will be Little Boo, and then I want to say 17th and 18th will be the Pumpkin Path. And come check us out, Big Brother Big Sisters of Northwestern Ohio. We would love to see you and give you guys some candy.
And I think that is so unique. And again, those that's listening to iHeartRadio and following us on the live, we want to again just say thank you for listening, and thank you for those events that we can get involved in. Judge, I was teasing you a little bit about this being Halloween season, and if your light was going to be on, and if you was going to have the candy corn. But you never really mentioned beforehand how people can find out more about Judge Jess.
VoteJudgeGonzalez.com is the website.
Say it one more time.
VoteJudgeGonzalez.com. I am also on Facebook. Retain Judge Alfonso Jess Gonzalez. You can find me there.
And you'll see a
Facebook
great
also.
profile cover picture of you too.
I clean up well on occasion.
Okay.
You know, so.
And thank you. And if there's, we talked about the trick or treat in your community is something that you family and friends and neighbors are doing in your neighborhood, which is so unique.
Right.
Could you share a little bit about what they're seeing some of the communities around the city?
Well, I can tell you in mine. So I live in a cul-de-sac, and my neighbors, we talked about it, and we're going to organize a little group there that's going to sit at the end of the cul-de-sac with a little fire and some food and pass out candy collectively.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's
That way people don't have to go to each house. They'll just kind of like walk up to the entrance.
They'll get all of us
one-stop shop.
That's cool.
right there
I
for
like
our
that. That's a
cul-de-sac.
great idea.
But it's really a lot of fun. We'll have some Halloween music in the back, and some of us may be wearing costumes. Who knows? So
I love that your neighborhood, you said it's like a small cul-de-sac, but I love that you guys come together and came up. We have to get back to that. Like I remember when I was a kid, there was neighborhood watch and like all these different, like the neighborhoods really cared about their neighborhood. You know what I mean? The people in. We have to get back to that.
Absolutely.
I want to just say thank you to all our grinders, because it's not so much about us. They stay with us throughout the show.
Yes.
This is the Rising Grind. So when we get up and we're grinding this morning on Work It Out Wednesday with DJ Breezy. But we also want you to make sure that if you want to be a sponsor of the show, make sure you send your information to info@the419grind.com. Check out some of our upcoming shows. Leah always say we got straight heat.
Straight heat.
And, and this is really a network of podcasting. What's some of the shows, Leah?
Absolutely. Of course, we have Real Table Talk with Leah Renee. My final episode of season 1 is airing today at 5 o'clock. It was the finale, and I'm taking a short break, to prepare for season 2 and be coming back with greater episodes.
Wonderful.
So, of course, we also have Executive Suite with Dr. Vic. We have 419 Grind with Jesse, Self-Explanatory with The Selfs, Nothing But Net with Sandy Brown, Capital T with Tasha and Tanya, No Facts Given with DJ Breezy.
And she in here with us. We're working out Wednesday.
We also got
the other night too.
Thank you.
Yeah, we also got Cloth Talk with our boy RC. We got HBCU Vibes coming soon with Trees, and Underrated Sports also coming real soon. So we definitely have a whole lineup of shows. If you don't like mine, you don't like Breezy's. If you don't like hers, you're gonna like Trees. If
got
you
a
don't,
variety
you don't like
to pick
somebody.
from.
You don't like somebody, and if you don't like none of us, you just a hater. And that's what it is.
And if you gonna keep hating, and Bree, if this what hater do, will we become the #1 urban podcast in the country?
Trees don't say.
Ain't nobody mad but the haters.
Ain't nobody mad but the haters. One of the things, and as we talk about those that sometimes don't agree with us, there's over 7 billion people in the world. They can't. It's okay. But Judge, one thing that we like to do, and we really want to make this a home run, is we show appreciation and love to our family and friends on air so that this can be shared. Who is some people that you would like to just say thank you, I love you, and just appreciate, please.
Well, and they're probably not listening because they're older,
but they can share this. You can show it.
My mom and my dad. I thank you for everything you've done for me. I mean, this is why I'm here.
Oh, they sound like
I don't make it here except for my parents.
Absolutely.
So, but
family,
friends, all of them. I have 5 sibs. I mean, tons of friends.
He's like, I got too many.
Support. Oh my God, yeah. It sounds like an Oscar speech.
Yes, it is.
They're gonna start playing the music. That stage, so anyway, no, so many people.
We always say, if I can't get you today,
right,
we'll make sure we get you tomorrow.
Right, charge it to the heart.
Right. I like that. I like that, Breeze.
Professional friends and anyone that's just saying thank
my
you.
Campaign team, the judges that I work with. I mean, I got some sweethearts that I work with, just fantastic people. I like everybody. My staff, they've been very patient with me. That would be Tanya Butler, Tim Timar, and Sabrina Widman. Love you to death. That's my team. They make me look good on a daily basis. I owe them.
Thank you for sharing that. DJ Breezy, who this morning you would like to just say, hey, I thank you for being in my corner. I love you and I appreciate you.
I'm going to say that it's hard, but of course my mom, my fiance, my children, and just any and everyone that I am surrounded and connected to, because everyone plays a part. And just, I'm grateful. I am truly grateful to be surrounded by so many lovely people. And I'm so honored to have met you. And I love my 419 Grind family, y'all.
Yeah. I want to give a special thank you to my mother and my nieces. They hold me down with my kids and my Davis family. That's my daughter's other grandparents. And, without them, I can't get up and come in here every single morning.
Right.
Without them, I can't rip and run and do the things I'm doing every day and on the weekend. I mean, I'm literally gone every single day. And I have a 5-month-old. So I appreciate them. I mean, they pick up the slack that, where I'm lacking. And without them, I can't do what I do. And my 419 family, I love all of you. I appreciate you guys picking up my slack when it's necessary and just being there for me and being understanding.
Absolutely.
My situations.
Special thanks to everyone. Special love to all those listening, our interns, everyone that's grinding.
And our listeners and viewers especially.
Yes, of course.
That's trying to make a difference. Judge, this has been an awesome conversation.
Agree.
I would love, even if things don't necessarily go in favor, that you still utilize us in connecting us and we being a connection for you to reach different communities and from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
This is the all-new Rise and Grind morning show presented to you by the 419 Grind. It's Work It Out Wednesday with the lovely DJ Breezy,
yes.
Leah Renee. We had Judge Jess. Great conversation. I want to thank our interns, our executive team, Dr. Victor J. Coleman, Jesse Coleman. I said Jesse Cole. Leah always call him J. Cole. And all of our grinders. Thank you. We got a great show tomorrow. I promise you don't want to miss it. Expect the unexpected. It is your boy Big Treese, and as Leah always puts in the air.
Until next time. Mwah.